Here to talk through this cave puzzle by Ashish Kumar. What we'll see in the middle of the solve is it uses a particular kind of logical step a few times. It's kind of a common addition to the starting view. If you don't know this general thing to watch for in cave puzzles, you can never have a checkerboard type pattern where you have two outside cells for the cave and two inside cells for the cave meeting at a corner like this. That would require, if the cave is connected either this way or this way, that one of these unused cells is inside of the cave, that you can't have both of these reach an edge of the grid and have the cave connected. So basic things like, this is an obvious step for me to see, but if you don't know this pattern, this won't be obvious. For others, is that a clue like a 2 diagonal to another clue needs to be using one of these cells, or otherwise it would form exactly this pattern with both of these unshaded, and so as a result, this can't be part of the cave, this can't be part of the cave, and consequently even this cell can't be part of the cave. The thing to watch for, like that 2 extension, is things like this 6 clue. If it comes down, it can't take both of these cells. If it took both of those cells, it would mark both of these as unusable. So what it can do is on this edge say that at least one of these cells isn't used. Then if we count up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we must use this cell. This 3 has to use at least one of these cells, so this is now unusable. That actually limits exactly to this set. I'm shading out so that the unused cells can be connected to an edge. We now sort of have to connect these and these to avoid this pattern as usual. We'll see that this 6 can extend all the way to this 4, just as in this case we had an X. In this case, coming to the right, we have an X. The 4 needs to use at least one of these cells. So it can't have 3 more cells over this direction. That leaves exactly enough space for this deduction, which again wraps around, gives those cells to get a little bit of a start there. One thing that we will need to see, and this is tied to these unused cells getting out, is a clue like the 7. It looks like it can come all the way up here. It can't take this cell because if it took all of these cells, this group would be stranded inside. So at most it can take 5 cells. Taking 5 cells as being a 6th, as being a 7th. The one cell that we can force from the 7, which is quite useful to force from the 7, is this one. Why is that useful? Well, this 4 now has 2 cells used, has an option to the left that gets it 3, 4, it has an option to the right, gets it 3, 4, and has an option above which gives us just one more. If it takes this cell, then there's no way for it to get to a total of 4, that any other cells it takes would get it all the way up to 5. And so being able to cancel this cell, which gives us this 4 cell here, completes the 4. It gives us this. The 7 now has to take over on those 7 cells like so. These have to connect to the outside of the grid, so we can also shade this cell as you see there. The 4 has to take at least these. This has to take at least that. This goes to here. I think that's at least it for right now along the bottom. The next kind of thing to watch for is something that sort of have around this space. The 3 can use this cell, or it can be unused, but there must be a division of cave to not cave somewhere here. And there's just one channel to get out of the grid. So if either this cell or that cell are not used, this path to the top happens. That gives us a little more detail for this part of the grid. The 4 coming down touches a 6. This means that the 6 needs to have at least 2 more cells left-right versus the 4 having left-right, so that the total counts that up. So while this has a first cell taken, it has to take at least 1 more. What we see is it actually takes 2 extra cells. It now fully completes the 6, which fully completes the 3. We can get all these marked off, get these marked off, get to where we're at. At the very start of the puzzle, we had this kind of 6 into 4. We had this 6 into 4. Well, look what we've set up over here. There's an 8 into a 4 now. This 8 can't take all of these cells. If it takes these cells, then this 4 can't see to here. So in this propeller theme, we keep hitting the same kind of deduction. So this X over here, very similar to these X's before. Notice this is where the checkerboard pattern comes back in. Even marking this X, it's also true that the 8 can't take this first cell. It takes this first cell. This is unused. That now forms the deadly pattern we need to avoid. And so it's even a stronger deduction than just this. You can't take both of these. You also can't take the first of these. And that leaves behind 9 horizontal cells, which have a total of 8 taken from it. These first ones I just marked have to be used. This now is an almost stranded group, so it has to be able to escape. That completes over to here. You'll see the 5 can't come above anymore. That would be too large, so it has to take these. This now is an almost stranded group, so it comes down. The 4 here has to finish itself out. Avoiding a checkerboard pattern gives us this deduction. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is a total of 6, and you take at least 1, so just sort of thinking of the max mins and what's required for those cells. What I've marked needs to be taken. The 4 can't come all the way over here. It has to take at least 1 more up. We get to a place where 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are now marked around the 7. If it took this, it got too large to 8, so it has to use this, so this clue is done. We need to think about the remaining clues up here, and the trick to see is about connectivity. So everything on the bottom and left of the grid is a connected cave, and this group in the upper right is not a connected cave. If this comes just down from the 6, it's not going to fully form. You can try to reach over like so from the left side, but then that forms this to be unused, and you can't full form map. So the connection to the cave is from the bottom and not from the top, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I just used a lot of words to get to that point. And so this is the shape over here. We need to finish the 4 and 5 clues, which look like this. We need to finish the 6 clue, which looks like this. And the last cell to escape from the cave is there. So this is a really interesting pattern from Ashish. I really appreciate a lot how essentially these big numbers pointing into 4s in this kind of diagonal pattern, first here, and then here, all lead to the same kind of deductions, which really give you center groups that have to escape to an edge. This escaping, this escaping, this escaping. So it was a Friday or Saturday level puzzle. I'm better at cave than some, and so from my testing perspective, this was more of the Friday than the cockroach, which we also will give a walkthrough for this week. But I hope you learned a little bit about the special trick with cave puzzles and things to watch for as you draw out patterns. Some of the forms of notation, particularly the X's I use, are helpful, even as we bridge into the trickier forms of the checkerboard rule. So hope you learned something about cave in general, and we'll see you again soon.